Hello.
Hi.
Hello. So this is our commentary on Iron Fist Season 2.
Yep.
Which was just released however the heck many days it's been.
I don't even know. I'm like...
Yeah. It is...
Sunday.
Yeah. So,
Sunday the what? I don't know what day it is, actually.
So 2 days ago.
I don't understand time.
In any case, we stayed up all night watching it, which is why we have lost our sense of time. But yeah, so I have to say that for me personally, this was the show I was most anticipating this year. I don't know if you felt the same way, but I did.
I don't know. I really, really like Iron Fist comics. The show doesn't do it equally as much for me. So I think it was Daredevil that I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I mean, I definitely was, I think I definitely liked this season better than last season by actually a pretty big margin.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I loved season 1. And I think I was most excited for this just because it's set up so much cool stuff and there's so much that I want out of Iron Fist. With Daredevil, I mean, Daredevil's my favorite superhero, but we've already had 2 seasons of Daredevil. We've seen a lot of Daredevil. We kind of know what to expect next season. So I'm really excited about it, but I think for this one, there was so much that, I was really genuinely pumped about. I mean, for Daredevil, it's gonna hurt.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking forward to that. I mean, I am, but I'm not, that sort of thing. But in any case, yeah. I think this season was so different from season 1. I don't actually know which one I like better. I think so. The first thing to point out is the episode number change, that they've started allowing showrunners to make shorter seasons, and giving them that option, which I really am happy about because most of the shows have had pretty significant pacing issues.
Yeah.
With the 13 episodes, pretty much all of them have felt too long and kind of stretched and have had,
unnecessary
big lulls throughout, where they couldn't keep the tension up. So I really like that they're giving showrunners this option, and I hope more of them take advantage of it.
Yeah. Because
I do think it's necessary, and I do think we definitely got a tighter, a noticeably kind of tighter story, plotline, narrative tension-wise, pacing-wise for this season. I think this could have been 13 episodes, actually, because I did think there were things that were missing, that it needed more development.
Yeah.
So, I mean, nothing's perfect.
Yeah. I mean, I really do. I thought the 10 episode, though, I think it worked.
I did think it's better, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so, I think, where do we want to start with this?
What are we going to forget? Why don't we start out with the villains?
Okay, yeah. Well,
I think that's a good place because then we won't go back and forget it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, actually, one thing I want to start to get out of the way, just first of all, is that the fights were awesome, and I liked the fights in season 1 too. But I thought the fights in the season were better. They were really, really cool.
Yeah.
The action was really crisp. Yeah, great, good fights. Just getting that out of the way, because I think that is something I'll forget to say. But yeah. So this season was a lot about, and the showrunner talked about this beforehand. One of the main themes of the season is balance and duality, and we did see that with a lot of the characters, of them trying to. Most of the characters were in transition, and trying to figure out a balance of what they had, and what they're going to be, and how to get there. And how to kind of keep themselves from kind of losing themselves in this transition. So I thought it was that specifically, that concept of, again, finding and maintaining purpose. Yeah. In a changing, chaotic situation.
Yep.
And yeah, so that really came through in the series antagonists. Do you actually want to start with Mary?
Yeah,
Let's
I was
start
going to
with
think
Mary.
of that.
Yeah, so
She wasn't even quite an antagonist.
well, she wasn't a villain.
She was definitely an anti-hero.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, and that's true of most of the antagonists in these shows.
Yeah.
But yeah. So these shows have done this a few times. We saw this with Trish, Patsy Walker, and Jessica Jones, and the relationship between Karen Page and Frank Castle, and a few other instances where these shows will take characters who have never interacted and bring them together and play around with them. And that's one of the things I love so much about these shows is in adaptations in general is you can play with new stuff. You can try out new character dynamics, and you get to see some really cool things as a result. Because Typhoid Mary Walker is a Daredevil villain. She was introduced in Ann Nocenti's run, and she's kind of jumped around a little bit afterwards. She's also become a fairly major Deadpool character, and obviously shown up in Daredevil a whole bunch, but she's never been an Iron Fist character. I can think of two, in which she and Danny are in the same story, and that's about it. Yeah. Shadowland and that big giant crossover issue in the recent Deadpool series, and that's it. But it's really cool, and to bring her into the show, and that meant we had no idea what role she was going to play. Also, so it was a big surprise. But so the actress they got, Alice Eve.
So she does have heterochromia, which is interesting, and that's the only thing I've ever learned from an X-Men piece of media.
It's not the only thing you ever learned from X-Men, is it?
The only actual thing.
Oh.
Well, I mean, I've learned Magneto's my favorite villain of all time. So she has heterochromia, so if you look carefully, she has two different colored eyes.
Yeah.
It's something you might not notice if you don't know ahead of time.
There's that one bit in that scene where she first talks about her DID with Joy and Davos, where you get the close-up on her eyes, you can see it.
Yeah.
And I really like that you don't really notice it otherwise, and then in that significant moment, bam, there. Yeah. It's so cool.
Anyways, that's really cool. And...
I'm sure that's not the only reason they cast her, because she was fantastic, but I'm sure that was a good gave
bonus.
Her a knee up on everybody else. So she was awesome. She did a really good job with this role, and it was really interesting to hear her talking about it in interviews beforehand. Because she had really interesting things to say about it, and she has a really interesting way of speaking. I really enjoyed listening to her talk. But I guess it sounds like that she talked about not really talking to people on set, that kind of trying to stay semi in character, or at least in that mindset, by separating herself out from it, which I thought was really interesting. And also talking about kind of putting away, kind of digging into the darker parts of her mind and connecting with that on kind of a continuous way in her actual life, to get into that mindset. I don't know, it was just really cool. She had really cool things to say. But yeah, I thought she did a fantastic job. I love that we saw Mary first, and just kind of in that, very weird, kind of awkward, not quite sure what's going on context, because it really made her a mystery. I mean, people who knew her from the comics knew who she was, obviously, but and kind of what was going on. But I really liked introducing that personality first, and just kind of having her bumble into the story, and we're all confused. Danny's confused. We're confused. She's confused. And I really liked how she played both personalities, particularly the way she spoke. They spoke in very similar ways, but also with significant differences. Like, they both spoke in a very kind of flat way, but it was a different... And it was different for both of them, but it was really it stood out, and it was particularly for the Mary altar. Yeah. It was she was very sweet, and it kind of walked that perfect line between sweet and creepy. Yeah. So you weren't completely creeped out by her. She genuinely seemed like a sweet person who
But there was something of like
there's something wrong. Yeah.
Uncanny valley about it.
Yeah.
Like, just wrong enough.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then as Walker, she has that very, flat, no-nonsense, also kind of creepy, vaguely threatening. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In a different way. Yeah. Which I thought was really good. And her, just the way that she switched between the two altars and... the physical changes, not just changes in her hair, but it changes in, the way she walked and her facial expressions, and it was just really well done. Yeah. And I want to talk about the notes. It's in that first scene where Mary comes back to the apartment, and all the notes have been left for her by Walker. And some of them are very practical, don't leave the house, don't talk to Danny. And then there's the one that's just, stop moving my stuff around. You said she's like a bad roommate. Yeah. I love that. That was clearly just irritation and not practicality. Yeah. And in terms of, so in the comics, Mary has also 3 personalities. There are 2 different versions of her origin story. The initial version is that she was just born with this severe case of dissociative identity disorder. You're right. Thank you. And
which doesn't happen.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we can set this up. We can set this up by saying that obviously this is a fantasy version of this condition. So this is not true to life. Yeah. I mean, but yeah. So, and there's a later version of continuity in which an element of Man Without Fear, which is Frank Miller's revamping, not quite in continuity revamping of Matt Murdock's origin story, in which Matt accidentally kills a random person who ends up being Mary, and that near-death experience caused a psychotic break that resulted in the multiple personalities, which I'm not as much of a fan of just because I don't like that version of the origin story, that element, but that's personal preference. But she has 3 identities. She has Mary Walker, who is, kind of sweet and innocent and nonviolent and nice. And then she has Typhoid Mary, who is kind of the complete opposite. She's kind of the very definition of chaotic neutral. She's essentially a mercenary, but not as official as that. She just kind of goes out and does what she wants, and she's very power hungry. She loves violence. She's a very sexual character, and she uses that sexuality as a weapon to control men and get them to do what she wants and empower her. And she's, kind of wild and out there and all over the place. And then there's a very rare third personality which shows up really briefly called Bloody Mary, who is a very serious, focused, homicidal character who hunts down and murders men who abuse women. So that's the array in the comics. And in the show we have something that's slightly different, in that the Typhoid Mary personality is not really being used unless we're going to see that with the third personality. Walker is in this situation a special ops person, which I thought was really cool. I really liked that. Yeah, I thought that was neat.
I still feel like our IGH theory could hold weight, and
I think we need to.
Very disappointed about it.
I know. Oh. Rest in peace, a really good theory.
And it could still work.
I don't think it will.
I know. I don't think it will either, but I think it still could.
I know.
And it's very sad.
I know.
And they missed a very good opportunity to...
Yeah. But yeah, she's a special ops agent, and she had this horrible experience as a prisoner of war in Sokovia, and that resulted in the multiple personalities. And so she gets brought into this, kind of the same way she gets brought into Daredevil, in that she's hired. Kingpin hires her in Daredevil to kill and seduce and kill Matt Murdock. But in here she has been hired to spy on and eventually capture Danny.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked the fact that, because I was kind of worried, because the initial Daredevil story, there's a romantic element, and I was really glad they didn't go for that here. And there were a bunch of times in the show where they could have gone for a romantic element, and they didn't, which I generally appreciated.
Yeah.
But yeah, particularly in this situation. And so I like that she's just kind of in this doing a job, and then she has a new job, and then she has a new job. I kind of like that line in the last episode where Joy asks, I think it's Joy asks her, and who she's working for, or I can't remember the exact line, but Mary says that was three jobs ago.
Yeah.
And in the end, she ends up kind of serving herself.
Yeah.
In that she sticks around and she takes Joy as a pawn.
Yeah.
Poor Joy. Can't get out of this.
Yep.
And yeah, I just so literally embodying the theme of duality.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm assuming she will be in next season.
Probably.
Because this is just her origin story.
Yeah.
We still haven't even seen her third identity.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Hey, do you want to talk about Davos?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, thank you for keeping me. Yeah. So let's talk about Davos. I was really, really excited about Davos. And Davos and Joy in particular, because that's a team up from the comics that's really weird that I really, really like, because it's so weird. So Davos, obviously, we had a lot of great stuff in season 1. I loved how it built up his character and his relationship with Danny, and planted the seeds for the falling out. And they've done a few different things with Davos here in the comics. Davos is one of the characters, the other being Ward, who has been displaced a generation. Because in the comics, Davos was best friends with Danny's father. And they had a falling out. And Davos later comes after Danny just because he still wants the Iron Fist, and Danny is the Iron Fist. So, then he goes after him. So there's a kind of a degree of emotional separation there, and that it's not really personal, at least not at the beginning. But I really like, as much as I really like the Wendell stuff in the comics, I love the Wendell stuff in the comics. I think it made sense for them to make this change here, just because it makes it so much more immediate, and we're talking about a shorter time span in terms of storytelling. And so it really strengthens that relationship between Danny and Davos, and makes it extra compelling. So I really like this change.
Yeah. I especially like the addition of his mother,
yes,
who's a really interesting character.
Yes. So in the comics, Davos wants to be the Iron Fist for a whole bunch of reasons. He's egotistical, he feels like it's his birthright, but also there's an element of his father, Lei Kung, being very obvious about not wanting him to be the Iron Fist, and just generally not being a great father to him. He's not abusive or anything, it's just, you get the sense he doesn't really pay much attention to Davos. And so it's partly implied to be attention-seeking or trying to prove that he can do this anyway, at least at the start. And in the show, I love Lei Kung, so I was really annoyed that we didn't get much Lei Kung last season. I thought he was out of character, and we didn't get him much this season, so I'm really sad about that. But we got a character who does not exist I mean, presumably she exists.
I mean,
we don't know anything about Davos' mother in the comics, and here they have made her a central character to his arc, which is really, really cool. Do you want to?
Yeah, so, I mean, she's a very harsh, very cold woman. She, you know, it's very interesting because she does not like Dany at all. So one has to wonder the family dynamics there between her, Lee Kung, Davos, and Dany, and how that plays out. I would love to see that in a larger,
that's while we're on that topic, I loved the flashbacks we got, but I wanted more. I wanted to see Dany and Lee Kung's relationship. I wanted to see Lee Kung and Davos' relationship. I wanted to see wanted to see the rest of that situation because there's so much there's just so much there.
Yeah.
And we only get part of it.
And she's just, you know, she just is pressuring him to become the Iron Fist. And we really don't know why. I just have a pet theory that she wanted to become the Iron Fist and she wasn't able to.
I love that. Yeah, I love that
theory. That she lost. But again, we have no proof of that. That's just a pet theory.
Yeah, I think I'm going to take that theory on since we don't know.
Okay.
We can just say that,
Sure
that's probably because I like that a lot. But yeah, so the idea that Davos is, it's kind of been reversed from the comic. Instead of trying to prove his father wrong, here he's trying to live up to his mother's expectations for him, and she is the one who puts it into his head that, hey, this is something you're meant to do. And she's clearly given him extra training, which you wonder if Lee Kung is giving Dany extra training. And it is really interesting that the two people who end up being finalists in the tournament are from the same family.
Yeah.
So you wonder. But yeah. And also the fact, I mean, little things. In the comics, I'm really into Dany and Lee Kung's relationship. It's a really great relationship, and it's a de facto parent-child relationship, and so I like it being a literal parent-child relationship here. Again, I wanted to see more. But yeah, I really, really liked Priya.
Yeah.
And I thought that that scene where Davos is leaving and he's talking to her through the door.
Yeah.
Dang.
And she can't bring herself to say that I love you.
Yeah. And I like the detail that Davos says, there are certain things that some sons could say to their mothers, etc., which implies that it's not a cultural thing. It's not like this is what families are like in Kunlun. This is this specific,
this is
really dysfunctional situation.
Yeah.
This is not normal.
Yeah, because in some cultures that would be fine.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
But no, this isn't cultural. No. This is
this is weird.
This is
and it also, again, another thing to make Davos more sympathetic. Is that he's not just narcissistic. I mean, he is, but there's a reason for it, and this is the reason for it. Mm-hmm. And he's doing this for very obvious reasons because of the psychological stuff that his mother has created for him.
He's been groomed to do this.
Yeah, and he's, yes. Right. So that was great. I also like the fact that when Davos gets to the Iron Fist, he talks a lot about, Dany is wrong for this. And this is kind of the whole thing with Davos in the comics, too, I should have this, I am meant to have this, I will do the right things with this, which, in the comics is blatantly wrong. But here, he gets it, and then the first thing he does is he does exactly what he accused Dany of doing. He uses it to, fill a hole in himself, and to make himself feel good, and he starts going out and fighting crime in New York just by killing people.
Yeah.
And he's like, people will love me. People will see how awesome I am. Look how awesome I am. And it's just so Davos.
Yeah.
It's really, it's kind of sad and it's kind of funny. And it's all in character, and I think that's important for a Davos storyline, is that he's very much not the right person to have this. And here in the show, we get the added benefit of, understanding, really why he's doing this and seeing sympathizing with him on a certain level, but also seeing it, no, you're terrible.
Yeah.
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 So let's move on to Joy, which is the other half of that team up. And Joy, I thought one of the weaknesses, the main weakness in Joy's arc in season 1 was that for most of the season she is somewhat in support of Dany. She she remains compassionate for him, and she tries to protect him throughout, even up until the last episode. And she opposes Dany being given to Bakuto, and she in any case, and her decision, her flip, didn't, I think, get the proper development.
Yeah.
Because it's a, if you go from liking somebody to be okay with killing somebody, that's a pretty big emotional development. I didn't think it got the time it needed last season. And you had to extrapolate a lot, and what I extrapolated from it ended up being true.
Wow.
So
good job.
No, but I mean, so there was setup for it. I just didn't think there was enough setup for it, and I thought that extended into this season.
I'm just teasing.
No, I know.
I love you.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I feel like a jerk now.
No.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought that extended into this season, where it was a little bit hard to get into Joy's head. Particularly since we'd seen so little of her side of the story in season 1, particularly after Harold came back and that kind of that progress toward the revenge quest started. So the strength of her motivations in the season suffered from that weakness, but I still really liked. I really enjoyed her arc, because I'm here when you're I came here for Revenge Quest, Joy Meacham.
Yeah.
And that's what I got. So I'm happy. And I like that that first time she shows up and she tricks Ward and Dany into coming to her apartment, and the door opens and she is dressed for revenge. I really like that. She just is owning this. And I really like, I like the, even if it's not completely earned, the depth of her passion about it, and the depth of the fact that she feels she's been betrayed and that she just wants to lash out and get back. And she says, later in the season, I wanted to hurt you, and I did. That sense of, well, at least I have made myself feel better about this situation. I have made you feel what I felt. And you get the sense from the beginning that she is in a little bit over her head with Davos.
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, it's really impressive and says a lot about how awesome Joy is, that she does manage to stay afloat throughout. She survives a lot this season. Yeah. She's really smart and really, she does a great job of kind of protecting herself throughout this season, which in that way I thought it was a really, really cool season for her, to see that side of her, Joy on her own, surviving. And first of all, I really liked her dynamic with Davos. It was really interesting, and just on a base level, I really enjoyed the way she dealt with Davos's Davosness, of just being completely kind of using a dry sense of humor towards him. What's that bit? Davos just goes back and he's got the Iron Fist, and he goes back and he talks to her about, this is just the beginning, and Joyce is like, your fist lights up. That's really exciting. So yeah, it was. I thought that really. It was just a really. Very obviously a very unhealthy team up, but really, really interesting. I really liked what they did with it. And the fact that it could have gone romantic and it didn't, but that no one's really quite sure.
Yeah.
That it's very vague. And at the dinner party when they pretend that they're dating, and it's so over the top and funny particularly to see Davos kind of pretending in that direction.
I mean,
kind of. But yeah, you don't know.
No,
Maybe. And Davos, that's the thing. Davos genuinely is impressed by her and enjoys her company.
Mm-hmm.
He tells her that, I've missed your company, Joy, which for Davos is wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing I really like about Joy in this season is that she's not just out for revenge. Again, duality. Joy feels betrayed by Ward and Dany. She feels like they attacked her. She feels hurt, but she also lost, and was a big thing for her last season, that she has built this life for herself. She's earned her career. She's fought for it, which is a Dany parallel, and she's really proud of it, and she loses it, and she wants that back. And so part of this season, her arc this season, is revenge, but another part is genuinely starting over, that she gets this patent for this solar cell, and she starts up setting preparations to build this, a new life for herself as a businesswoman on her own. Without any, because you expect ulterior motives and sneakiness, etc. No, she just wants to start over, which I thought that was really important.
Yeah.
And a good way of balancing, again, the duality, kind of balancing out the anger and vengeance.
Do you want to talk about protagonists now?
Yes.
Okay.
Wait, have we...
Yeah, I think so.
Right. Oh, wait, Mrs. Yang. Let's say 2 words about Mrs. Yang.
2 words?
2 words.
Very cool.
Yes, those are good 2 words.
Okay.
Yeah. I really.
That's 3 words.
She was very cool. I liked her. I liked how many female characters we had, and as much as I liked her husband, I liked she was very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad she survived.
Right.
And pirate guy. Sorry. Davos's plucky pirate sidekick.
I really enjoyed him.
I think it's Chen Wu.
Yeah.
Chen Wu. Also, kind of the counterpoint to Joy. He kind of replaces Joy after Davos gets the Iron Fist. He becomes this person who's just kind of hanging on, surviving, and he, again, another person whose personality meshed really well with Davos's over-the-topness. Mm-hmm. So he was really cool, too. Mm-hmm. I liked him a lot. All right, yeah.
All right, so what did you think about Dany this season?
I love Dany. I love Dany. So, yeah, okay. I have many thoughts. I think there are certain things that I, as an Iron Fist fan, want out of... No, I'm not even getting into that yet.
Okay.
Don't even just... out of, there's certain things we all expect from our favorite characters and things we want. And so there are certain things that I've been looking forward to in this Iron Fist adaptation since 2014 when these shows were announced. And he hasn't gotten there yet. And it's taking he has had the most well, actually no, Matt's figuring his stuff out is taking a really long time. But I feel like for Dany's story, it's just been a continual delaying of what needs to happen for him. But at the same time, so on one level, I almost feel like his arc this season was not necessary for his development. But at the same time, I didn't dislike it. I liked it. I thought there was a lot of interesting stuff there. And I was thinking about it in terms of the comics. And if we look at season 1 with, all of its emotional turmoil and rage and revenge and stuff as analogous to Marvel Premiere, we can look at this season 2 as analogous to Iron Fist Volume 1 and Power Man Iron Fist Volume 1, and also the few comics after that in which Dany appears. In that in those comics, we see Danny settling into his new life in New York City. He gets a paying job. In the comics, it's Heroes for Hire. Here, for the same reasons that he joined Heroes for Hire in the comics, it's working for that moving company. Mm-hmm. So I love that he was doing that, because that's very important. And also that discussion he has with Ward about, earning a living, because that's very important for Danny, saying, I don't want this fortune. I'm, being, that's not me. I want to earn, honest money.
Yeah.
And, he builds relationships in New York. He starts operating as a superhero, kind of a street-level, genuine superhero. And he eventually becomes disillusioned with Kunlun for a variety of reasons in the comics. And he starts questioning his identity as the Iron Fist and his purpose. And he kind of starts floundering a bit in not being sure what that means on Earth and how to carry that out and what he should be doing as the Iron Fist and, how to keep up that part of his identity when, so much of it has become kind of tarnished for him. So that's kind of this season, where, he has moved in with Colleen. He has his job, as we mentioned. He is working as a superhero. He's taken over. He's kind of taken Matt's words to heart from the Defenders. And he, in that context, feeling like a failure as the Iron Fist, not sure what he's supposed to do with it, he questions it. And then it is taken from him by Davos. We're starting there. And what I was hoping for... I'm okay. Yes. What I was hoping for, and I think what we got, or what we will discover that we got in Season 3, is that by having the Iron Fist taken from him, Danny is really forced to evaluate whether, what that means to him, what it means to be the Iron Fist, and to put that in the context of himself. Because when he initially got it, it was, and this is true in the comics too, it was, again, to fill a void in himself. He did it because it was the only thing he could think to do to maybe heal himself. It was a goal he could focus on so that he could distract himself from this, trauma and anger. And so in this, in the show, he gets it, but he doesn't really have the context for it. It just kind of happens, and he's very proud of it, but he doesn't know what the heck to do with it. And he needs a sense of what it really means to be the Iron Fist and why it's important and how to embody that identity, and to feel passionate about it and to not feel like he's failing all the time. And so by losing it, Danny really gets the chance to think about it in this season, because, and this brings us to the idea that they get into a little bit of addressing it as an addiction, which we do not like.
I don't like that. I think that's stupid.
We got that with Matt in the Defenders, of Matt and Foggy and Karen discussing Matt's superheroing.
It makes more sense in terms of...
But it makes more sense for Matt. And it is, he does... We don't see this as much in the show, which we did, but he does have an adrenaline addiction. He loves going out and fighting crime. This is Matt we're talking about. And it does make some sense for at least Foggy and Karen in this universe to see it in that way, because that's often how Matt presents it. Mm-hmm. But I think it's different for Danny in that he talks about... I really like the part where he's telling Ward about when he's using the Iron Fist and he really gets into it, and he can feel a connection to Shu Lao. And I love that. And that's a good thing. They talk about it like it's a bad thing. It's not. Danny going out, enjoying being the Iron Fist, connecting to that part of his identity is not a bad thing, because that's, this is different. This is literally his job. This is what this is... Yeah, it's different.
He's doing his job.
He's doing his job, and he's doing a good job when he's able to connect in that way
and
with the power.
do his job.
Yeah.
And Matt, on the other hand, does not do his job.
No, yeah, for Matt, this is something he does
a night job.
Yeah, yeah, and I really want Matt to enjoy it, but Danny getting really into being the Iron Fist is a good thing. And so I don't like that it's
villainized.
Yeah, not treated that way because
I agree.
But yeah, and so I really liked Danny having it taken from him, being forced to reevaluate that. Mm-hmm. I really liked. We can talk about this, but I really liked, for the most part, his training, trying to get back into shape. The idea when the hero was brought low and then has to get back the heck up and keep fighting.
Yeah.
And I love, Danny training with, massive injuries and a broken leg and, training anyway, because that's just how hardcore he is. And I love seeing that emphasized. But, and, okay, I think we should talk about it.
Yeah, you have to talk about Colleen.
I can't not. Yeah.
So on Friday, I witnessed. I witnessed some grief.
Yeah, I've never.
I was quite genuinely concerned.
I'm sorry. I was not expecting that kind of a reaction. I've never gone from liking something to hating something to loving something so freaking abruptly. But yeah, so okay, we can just I feel like we should step back and talk about the good parts of Colleen's arc and get to this.
Okay.
I feel like I don't want to start with that. Yeah.
Just remember, we don't have that much time.
We're screwing right along. I think we can do it. I believe in us. I believe in us. Yeah. So, Colleen comes into this story, again, like everybody, trying to rebuild from a terrible situation. And we see that she has, because most of her training, etc., was kind of associated with the Hand, and that's a part of her life that she's horrified by and, grieving about and rejecting, that she has given up, quote unquote, given up fighting and training. And she and Danny have done a really nice job of remodeling the dojo into an apartment. Yeah, it looks really nice. And she is working at a community center, which is kind of like what we saw last season. She's very rooted in the community. She's kind of Danny's main connection to New York that he was, as he's starting to build that connection, is mainly through Colleen. And she's working at a community center with really cool Easter egg. She's working there with Sam Chung, who is a really recent Daredevil character, as in he was introduced in the current run, 2 years ago. And in that context, he is an undocumented immigrant from China, who is a kind of an inventive genius. He invents an invisibility suit, and he ends up working alongside Matt as kind of a sidekick protege, using the name Blind Spot. And he's really cool. And we almost never get comics characters who are that new in these shows. And the showrunner, because actually Charles Soule on Twitter, he noticed that Charles Soule created Blind Spot, and he commented on it, and Raven Messner, the showrunner, said, yeah, I tried to stick in Easter eggs to comics I really enjoy. So I thought that was really cool. And obviously, he could become a superhero. He might not, but it's it was really cool to see him in any context. There he is, yeah. And he was very funny, and I liked his dynamic with Colleen. So part of it is Colleen just kind of trying to move on. But obviously, she's not going to give up fighting. That's just not going to happen. And so she kind of gets dragged back into the situation through the mob, the war between the Hatchets, who were introduced last season, and the Golden Tigers, who are from the comics. So that was another really cool. They're from Iron Fist Volume 1. And so we get Colleen being very associated with the community. Danny is becoming integrated into the community, but Colleen is very deeply embedded, and it's something she obviously cares about. And we also have the plot point of the family heirloom, which really drives her storyline for a good chunk of the show.
I do feel like they didn't spend, like, it was kind of like a side thing into, like,
it was a side thing, but it was mostly what she was doing. Yeah,
I don't know. I thought it was kind of
no. I agree. Compared to what everyone else was doing, it was very subdued. But I feel like that fit with the idea that she's just trying to live a normal life. It's a normal plot line for someone who's trying to. I don't know, but yeah. In any case, and kind of the mystery of this box she finds that's connected to her family. And last season, the details on her family were very sparse, and I consider that I was hoping for more, and I wanted more this season, and we didn't really get.
We got a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
you're gonna have to talk about it.
I know. I don't.
Talk
I'm
about
delaying.
it.
I'm putting it off. No, but I do want to talk about Colleen. It's all I can think about now.
Okay, then do it. Just get it out of the way.
Okay, so let's talk about her team up with Misty first.
Okay.
She ends up getting pulled into this via what Danny's doing, and also because Misty shows up, and of course that's another important dynamic in that Misty and Colleen are longtime friends in the comics, and that's a really, really important relationship for both of them. And Misty is an Iron Fist character, so it's about damn time that she showed up in the show. And she and Danny also dated for 5 million years in the comics.
On and
but I'm
off.
not going to, mostly on. But, they talk to each other, finally. I'm a little bit bitter that it took this long. But in any case, so Colleen ends up getting pulled into this situation and proving, as we already knew, that she does enjoy fighting.
Really?
Really?
Oh.
I do really like her and Misty's fight with the Crane sisters. In that, where Colleen, she just starts smiling. She's, and I really like that about her.
I thought the Crane sisters were kind of stupid.
Yeah, we can talk about, okay, yeah, let's move right along so we talk about that.
Okay. No, but I don't think we have enough time to go over that.
We'll see. That could be something we throw in at the end. If not, we'll make a post about it.
Okay.
But so the big theme with Colleen is,
just say it.
okay. So I hate what they did with Colleen. I hate it.
Okay.
And it's I hate it for a variety of reasons. So
a lot of it's a consequence of lack of world building in terms of Kunlun and the Iron Fist, because I don't feel like we really, I don't know, because we're a comic reader, we know, but like I don't feel like people who aren't might get it.
In what context specifically?
Earning the Iron Fist, like
Yeah. So
I feel like it's just kind of like, the world building is weak. It's not super well explained.
Yeah, I think I have big issues with the way Kunlun has been treated in these shows, and particularly it's just kind of they haven't been doing it well enough, particularly in regards to it being destroyed. Because
we have no closure.
Season 1, well, it's not even that. It's like season 1, it's gone. We don't know what happened to it. In Defenders, we had that implication that it's actually still there. In Luke Cage, season 2, it was strongly implied to still be there because Danny makes that joke to Luke about, hey, I should take you to Kunlun and have you meet Shu Lao. And then here we find out that it's actually gone. So that's just. It's just
we know.
Bad communication. I mean, well, okay, so yes, there we go. It's the characters may just believe it's gone, but again, it's just there's not consistency there, and I really care about Kunlun. And I wanted to see, and I thought this is kind of one of the things I would love to have an Iron Fist movie, because you look at you know, the Thor movies and Wonder Woman and Black Panther, and you have these fictional societies that are built up via a big budget and lots of time and attention, and I really want that for Kunlun. And
but we
don't
can't
get that. Yeah, and I
Just-
understand budget concerns with these shows, and I fully sympathize. You know, I understand why we haven't seen Shulao, but
We've seen his eyeballs.
yeah, but I think we need to see more of Kunlun. We need to see more of it as Danny's home, not just as something he survived. Because Danny's connection to Kunlun is very important. It's hugely important in the comics, and is essentially not being used here. And that's very negligent for his character. I really feel very strongly about that. And part of that comes into his idea to reject the Iron Fist. God damn it. And to decide that, that he's not the right person for it, and that the right person for it is, in fact, this random... I mean, I love Colleen, but she's just this random Earth person, which I'm going to go into... let me see. That bothers me for a whole bunch of reasons. First of all, because it's taken so...
It's very cultural, and it's very specific, and it's very...
Yeah.
You are or you aren't.
Yeah. This is something just having the Chi of Shulao is not all that makes you the Iron Fist. And we see that with Davos. You know, he's not... What?
Pei,
yes. Thank you. Yeah, I was just gonna... Yeah, so Pei in the comics is Danny's successor. I mean, he's training her right now. She gets the Chi of Shulao in kind of a freak accident. And it's acknowledged that, okay, she will be the next Iron Fist, but she needs to earn it. And so she is given to Danny to train, and she does have to fight a dragon. And she has to prove herself.
Is the dragon still tiny?
No, it's a different dragon.
So they make her fight a different dragon.
Carrie Andrews, world builder. Yes. You need to read Immortal Iron Fists.
I know.
But, you know, it's not just getting the chi. It's having the mindset. It's proving yourself through, you know, fighting for and earning it and going through this incredibly difficult thing. It's, you know, you should have a personal, emotional connection to Kunlun, which is what I was talking about before with Danny. And it's this hugely significant cultural thing. You are representing this city. And the idea, first of all, the idea that Danny would think that giving it to a random person is okay is character slander for Danny. But also the fact that it's taken him so long to figure out that part of his identity for himself, the idea that somehow, Colleen is just better for it. Mm-hmm. That, you know.
And I think that plays a part with, like, it being an addiction and blah, 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 blah. Like, that makes no real sense.
Yeah, because Colleen has a clearly defined combat addiction in these shows. You know, if that's a problem with Danny and it's a problem with Davos, it's a problem with Colleen.
Yeah.
And we know that, and Colleen knows that, and you know, it's that's nonsense. And also the fact that, you know, I think it hurts all the more because this is something that Danny is still trying to figure out for himself, and you know, he hasn't had the chance to get there. And the fact that then Colleen, you know, that she gets it before he has a chance to get there, it feels like it's a theft of his arc.
Yeah.
And I felt this way about the Defenders, when that Danny's plotline in there is just destroying the hand was very significant for his plotline, and he ends up not being the one to do it in the Defenders, and that really bugged me.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was for the team up, but it really weakened. Danny really lost out on that in terms of his character arc, and I feel the same here. And the freaking fact that the big final fight in the show is between Davos and Colleen screw that. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, full respect to the writers and everything, but that's just nonsense.
Yeah.
That's how, who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah.
Particularly when you spent all this time building up Dany and Davos' relationship, and this is the big climax of that, it's just...
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
On my
makes no
half,
sense.
I'm not bothered by it at all. It's just a weird alternate universe to me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's how you have to think about it.
It is what it is. It's an alternate universe. It's cool. And Dany did end up getting the Iron Fist back.
There's one more point I want to make about it. I'm sorry. I need to get this off my chest. But the fact that it's also, it's also... Even more to the point, because of that final scene, the big problem here is that it's disrespectful to Colleen's character. Because Colleen is, she has no connection to this. She has her own story. She has her own history. She has her own, she has her connection to her grandfather and, to her fighting and to her experience. And it's separate from Dany's and it's individual. And... Basically, the impression this gives is that, well, Colleen's story is not, we barely see anything about her very significant relationship with her grandfather. In the comics, she has this extremely significant relationship with her father, which we still haven't seen anything about. And it's essentially implying that, well, Colleen's established character stuff is not nearly as interesting, so let's just give her Dany's.
Yeah.
And that's disrespectful to her character. So, yeah. I thought it was a really poor choice.
How about the bounce back?
So fortunately, they saved themselves in the final scene because
it was awesome.
Give me a minute. I've never gone from hating something to loving something so quickly because the one thing that Dany has been missing in these shows, and what I was hoping for this season. And what I've been hoping for since these shows were first announced is the Iron Fist legacy. Because the Iron Fist world building is really cool, and Dany's place in it is really interesting. And what we've seen in these shows is that Dany lacks the proper perspective. He doesn't know what he's doing. He doesn't have his full Iron Fist training. He doesn't know, he lacks proper information, and he feels alone. And
I mean, that's... the comics, too.
It is the comics, too, yes. And that is good to emphasize. Like I said, this concept of this season does line up with the comics. It's not like it's just a random thing they threw in here. And I was hoping for Dany, having lost the Iron Fist, to reevaluate and decide how important it is and what it means to him. And despite the significant road bump, he does get there. And that's really, really important. And we have in the final scene, Dany saying, I want to be worthy of the Iron Fist, which, I feel he already is, but it's understandable that he wouldn't feel that way. And I want to learn more about the Iron Fist legacy, which is very important. And it's getting into my favorite Iron Fist comic, which is Immortal Iron Fist.
It's everyone's favorite Iron Fist comic.
I don't want to say that.
It's almost everyone's favorite.
It's phenomenal. You definitely read it if you haven't, particularly because it's obviously going to be the basis for season 3, which I'm so freaking excited about.
Orson.
So Dany, he it's not like he's just given up, and of course this is his show, so he damn well better not. But he searches for that perspective that he has needed for so long, saying, I need to learn about the legacy, I need to understand other people's experience as the Iron Fist. And that's very important for him, because in the comics, after he has floundered for so long, he finally, after, meeting Orson, who is his Iron Fist predecessor, getting the Book of the Iron Fist, which gives him the life stories of all the previous Iron Fists and all of their awesome fight moves. He powers up, literally, and he gets a sense of purpose. He understands finally what it really means to be the Iron Fist, and he owns it, and he feels connected to something again. And he really becomes the Iron Fist for the first time in a, he reaches his potential as the Iron Fist.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what we've been waiting for in these shows all along.
Mm-hmm.
So we see in the shows he is hunting down the legacy of, discovering Wu Aoshi. I also okay, I'm not going to talk more about Colleen. Who was one of my favorite former Iron Fists, the Pirate Queen of Pinghai Bay, and hunting down Orson Randall, his predecessor.
Orson.
Who we saw, at least we assume that was Orson because he was dressed like Orson and moved like Orson, and
he was
Orson. Flash be Orson in season 1 in that video that
it was Orson.
It was, and it was awesome. And we see in that final scene that he has the Iron Fist back, which instantly cured all of my emotional trauma. But he has powered up, and he is doing one of my favorite Iron Fist moves, which is called Lightning from God, which is when you
shoot a thing.
Shoot a thing.
Real good.
Real good, yeah. It's when you extend the chi out beyond your body into a weapon.
Projectiles, yeah.
Which gives it extra oomph and, kind of a heat factor. And it's really cool.
You shoot a thing real good.
And something that Wu Aoshi did, and she just kind of famously pioneered it with the bow and arrows. And it's something that Orson Randall did really famously with guns. And so we see Danny in this scene doing it with two guns at the same time. So this is a major freaking power up for him.
It's pretty much an Orson outfit,
he's dressed as Orson, which is something I never knew I needed.
Yeah.
But I lost my mind.
But that's Orson's with the trench coat.
Yeah, and the pouches. It's such a good scene on every level. It's I don't know, man. We need to talk a little bit about Ward.
Anyways, it's implied that they're going to find Orson.
Yeah, they're hunting for Orson.
And Orson's running around with the Benny Hill music in the background.
Yeah.
Orson's very good at running away.
He is. And hiding.
What is that? Monty Python and the Holy Grail? Sir Robin ran away.
Oh, yeah. Yes, that's Orson.
Yeah, that's him.
That's Orson's entire life. Oh, I love Orson.
He's a good dude.
But yeah, I really another thing I really liked about that scene is that it finally sold me on Danny and Ward's dynamic, and it really reminded me of Orson and Lucky Pierre. Ernst Erskine, who is referenced in this season, who was Orson's biographer.
I'm super dumb because I was like, like Captain America. Maybe it's the same person though.
That I don't think it is, but that would be neat.
Because it could make some sense.
Maybe.
In creating super soldiers?
I don't know.
Yeah, right?
See.
Right?
Maybe.
Right? But
he oh man, but he died in the no.
Yeah.
But no, he died in the 40s, and Orson was still in Kunlun in 1940 whatever that year was.
Okay.
So but okay, maybe that would be interesting. But
it would explain his interest in super soldiers.
It would. That's true.
Wink.
Wonk.
Wink.
But yeah, in any case, and just the whole of Ward, just kind of being there getting information, and then a fight looms, and he just kind of goes, "Okay, Danny, go at it." That was so. That completely sold me on that team up. I've never been quite sold on Ward, particularly Ward and Danny being friends, but that
it was a weird
that did it. That did it for me, and it really reminded me of Orson and Lucky Pierre.
Would you kiss Orson on the forehead?
No.
Would you?
He's a nasty old man.
He's a nasty old man.
He's gross. I wouldn't touch him.
Would you hug him?
Okay, I might hug him. He's earned a hug. I'm sure he smells terrible. Yeah. Oh god.
Like alcohol.
Gross. Yeah. Alcohol and probably not bathing enough. I doubt Orson bathed very much, but I love him anyway.
He's a good boy.
He's great. Yeah, so that's setting up for literally everything I wanted next season. So I need next season instantly. We should talk for 2 seconds about Ward since we brought him up.
He cool.
He cool. Yeah. So Ward, they did again. I don't. Ward's a really kind of lame-mo punk bad guy in the comics. And they've done really, really great things with Ward in the shows.
Yeah, he's pretty much not the same character.
Yeah. And we see him this season continuing to be a mess, but doing it more in public. and being more open about it. And trying, yeah. Going to NA and just completely failing at it in multiple respects.
Yeah. I'm not sure if your sponsor can be the leader of the group. I'm not sure.
Well, there's a lot of unethical stuff going on there with
there's a lot of stuff you shouldn't be doing. Yeah, I mean, that's...
I feel like this is
that's the least of the
I feel like this
issues
is a not quite on the up and up branch of NA.
Yeah.
Which kind of fits with Ward's whole vibe anyway.
But he tries.
But he tries, yeah. And he is really trying this season, and I felt like the close relationship he had with Danny this season was not earned because he spent so much of last season being abusive and
trying to kill him,
homicidal toward Danny. That it really, I mean, I didn't think that was quite earned. That needed more development. But I did enjoy Ward's dry sense of humoring his way through a terrible attempt at recovery. I mean, still an attempt. But him kind of floundering in that, and I did really like particularly the little references, and this season directly built on season 1, and I liked how it was closely tied. His little references is just how ridiculously horrifying. Just kind of the fact that he's trying to recover.
After killing his father.
In a kind of normal, mundane way, from twice murdering his father, who was undead and insane. Yeah. And I love the humor. He kind of has a dry sense of humor about it. He didn't have the most interesting arc for me, but he didn't have the most interesting arc for me last season either, because everyone else has so much more.
And Harold was so terrifying.
Interesting stuff, yeah. But I really wasn't sure what they were going to do with him this season, because I thought all of his appeal last season was kind of died with Harold, because it was that dynamic that made it interesting. But I thought they did a good job with him, and I am actually really excited to see him and Danny gallivanting around on an Iron Fist Legacy Discovery quest next season.
I'm kind of afraid of him meeting Orson. I'm kind of feeling like would not...
Have you ever tried opium?
Did he not do heroin?
He did.
Did he do heroin?
He did. He did this Steel Serpent heroin that one time.
Oh, yeah, he did. Oh.
Yeah. Bad influence.
Yeah, that's not going to end well.
Oh, man. But yeah.
Oh, by the way, if we didn't mention, Orson does drugs.
Yeah.
He's an addict.
Poor guy. He went through a lot.
He's an addict.
Yeah. For understandable reasons.
Yeah, but
he needed to escape. But yeah, he was in bad shape.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I liked and kind of trying to get back into Joy's good graces. I liked a lot of what they did with Ward.
Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
And I liked how they addressed his codependency on other people and how he has to be codependent.
And the fact that he talks about at the end that, I've built my life on my relationships with other people and now I'm alone and I don't really know who I am. Yeah. Which is kind of a parallel with Danny in a way. You know, again, identity. And everyone has that identity questions in these shows. In this show in particular. Let's see. I
want Orson right now.
Yes. Give us season 3. Put everything else on hold. Yeah, season 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, in general, apart from the hiccup, I really enjoyed this season. I liked a lot of what they did. I think I don't know whether I liked it better than season 1.
Yeah,
but
I think I did. I definitely.
But I
did.
really, really enjoyed it. I ended it a very happy Iron Fist fan, which is the goal. And lots of really exciting stuff set up for next season.
Yep.
I don't think we have time to talk about Crane Sisters, but I can write a post
Okay.
on that. Basically, they were. It's a concept from the comics that was not used well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I didn't really like it. I thought they were cool.
Yeah, but they should just been their own thing.
Yeah, they should have been like, yeah.
Yeah, they should
rather than giving them the
tried to
name.
make a reference. Yeah, because it's a reference that doesn't go anywhere. And you can't.
They're not the same.
You can't suggest something that awesome and then not deliver on it.
Mm-hmm. Basically, the Crane Sisters are a bunch of women.
Well, they're essentially they're from in the comics. They're from one of the other capital cities of heaven. They're the children of the ruler of Kunzi, Crane Mother, and it's implied we don't really ever get to see the immortal weapon from that city because Orson killed her.
No.
In self-defense. It wasn't an accident. It was in self-defense. But it's implied that one of the huge plethora of daughters Crane Mother gives birth to is the immortal weapon of that city. So they're kind of basically sort of the immortal weapons for that city. So they're a big deal.
But they're also not Orson. Davos uses them as fuel.
Yeah, in the Immortal Iron Fist, there are several times he's actually stolen the Iron Fist, but there are also times when he has created that same effect. And in Immortal Iron Fist, Crane Mother gives him her daughters so that he can basically absorb their chi and get a similar effect.
So he kills like tons of them.
Yeah. So they're very significant and very cool in the comics. And here, in the whole transference process, I have mixed feelings on. I feel like it should be combat. It's too easy. Yeah. The fact that you can just bleed out someone's powers this way, there should be a combat element to it. I mean, it was a really neat idea, and I thought it was used well. But
it was kind of lame.
I didn't think it was lame. I just like it better in the comics. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So overall, really liked it. Very excited for next season, and we will be posting more about it on the blog.
Yep.
On both blogs, actually, because I have an Iron Fist blog also. But yeah.
We will be going to New York Comic Con.
Yes. Yeah, so we got a Daredevil teaser.
Yep.
Matt continues to be a complete moron, but we're very excited.
Well, part of being a Daredevil fan is absolutely hating Matt Murdock.
It's being frustrated with Matt on a regular basis.
No, not being frustrated.
Well,
hating
there's
him.
a degree of emotional,
You hate him at least a little bit.
At least a little bit, yeah. Part of the time.
Most of the time he's okay, but...
Yeah. But yeah, so we will be at the Daredevil panel at New York Comic Con, and...
Pray for us.
Yes. So great stuff on the horizon, as always.
I don't think we know. Do we know when the other shows are coming out?
We have no idea. They're filming Jessica Jones Season 3 right now. I think they just wrapped on Punisher. They're cranking these things the heck out.
I actually get nervous about that.
Me too.
It's too fast. Take your time.
Yeah. I don't look at Pixar. Don't wait that long, but take your time. Take your time to make a good,
Okay, yeah.
But yeah. So I don't think we have time to talk about comic recommendations. But if you're not reading Daredevil right now, please read Daredevil right now because Mike Murdock is back.
I do have a recommendation. I have a recommendation. Remember, I was going to give a recommendation.
Oh, yeah, give your recommendation.
Okay, so if you guys have ever heard of Star Wars...
What's that?
It's this, movie, and it's a space fantasy.
Oh, I don't know about that, man. Fantasy. I hate fantasy.
Space fantasy.
I hate space.
Space fantasy.
I hate both of those things.
But they have laser swords.
I don't know.
You don't like laser swords?
I don't like things that light up.
Oh, well, maybe you won't like Star Wars then. So, you're missing out.
Oh.
And it has, so they're space wizards with swords. Space mages.
That sounds kind of stupid.
It's a D&D campaign, but...
Nerd.
Space fantasy.
Wow. Okay.
And then they have to rescue a princess.
Wow. Okay, well,
And the
there's
bad
that.
guy, the bad guy's so cool, and he also has a laser sword.
No, okay, no, that's...
And there's like a rogue and like a werewolf guy, like a wolf man,
A Wolfman
a wolf man,
in space?
Yeah, in space.
Wolfman in space?
a wolf man
Okay,
in space.
okay,
Okay, are you sold?
Now I'm sold on it. Okay, so
Okay.
go watch that thing. Alright, so I think that's all we have time for. We will definitely be writing a lot of posts about this.
For sure.
Yeah, unfortunately we're on a schedule today, so we cannot continue. But we will,
Yep.
hope you have enjoyed.
Yay.
Bye!